not one, but two, but three leopards all together, and they are all males, and it is just a very, very weird situation. So we've got Hosana, a young male leopard, on the bottom. He's now approaching about 20 months old, so he's still a young individual. He unfortunately lost his mom recently, and he seems to have tried to kind of follow other leopards around in the search of food. And what's happened is a big dominant male killed 2 impalas about 4 days ago. He was then robbed by 2 male lions, and they then left a bit of the carcasses. And so this young male has come to feed in and come to scavenge off that carcass. And then up above him is another young male. So this is Thamba, who comes from, well, it's basically Hosana's nephew, and it comes from the same lineage. He's feeding on the rest of the carcass that they've scavenged up above him, which is completely ridiculous. To see 2 young male leopards like this in such close proximity is absolutely insane. So if you've got any questions, remember you can post your questions in the comment section below, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. And then the big dominant male, who's the one that actually made all of these kills, is that individual over there. Now he's lying next to a lodge. We're right in the middle of a lodge at the moment, and that's one of the special things about the Sabi Sands, is that we've got these relaxed individual leopards that will move into lodges and will take sort of over and are not too perturbed by what goes on. So you can see there is a tire there, and that's from the lodge itself. And so he's lying just behind there watching the 2 youngsters go about their business. And it's a strange situation, and a very unique one, in that generally leopards are solitary cats, and you'll find a situation where young male leopards generally are pushed out by big dominant males. And so to have a male leopard like this that is completely relaxed and is allowing these 2 young males to be in his territory and to be in his area and to feed right next to him is absolutely unbelievable and completely unique. It's not something that we're going to see every single day, and it's not something that we are going to witness very often. Leopards are territorial, and that's what makes this sighting so unique, is that the big dominant male off to our left is allowing these 2 young males who are at the process of, well, the one is in the process of leaving his mother, so his mom is slowly but surely leaving him for longer periods of time, which is that individual up in the top there. And so he's just starting his process of now becoming this individual that goes out and starts to set up a territory. The other young male, which is the one male that is down on the ground, he unfortunately lost his mother in March of this year, and we don't know what happened to her. She just disappeared, and he was basically orphaned at about a year old. Since then, he's gone about just trying to make his way in life, and so both of these young individuals are not territorial at the moment, and that's why the big dominant male that's lying off to the side is tolerating them. At the moment, he knows that these are both his offspring, so he mated with both the females that produced these 2 youngsters, and he knows that they're not really a threat because of their size. They're still small individuals, and so that's why he's not threatened by them at the moment. But it is weird, because generally they are solitary, generally they are territorial, and they should start pushing each other away. Now, Chassis, you're asking if they are related. So yes, this male, as far as we know, has mated with both the mothers of these 2 younger males, and so it means that basically these are both his offspring. We're not 100% sure, obviously, because females can mate with multiple different males during their estrous cycle, and to determine paternity is sometimes very, very difficult without doing DNA testing. But as far as we know, he mated with both the mothers, and they would then produce cubs within the time frame of him mating with them. And so basically you've got a situation that they're related from the father side, and then in terms of the mothers, the mother of this individual that we're watching now is the grandmother of the one that is up in the tree. So that is how the kind of bloodline works. So they are all somehow connected. And so, Emily, I haven't chatted about what animals they hunt, and we've just been discussing the family dynamics. But basically with these guys is that they will tend to go after small to medium-sized antelope, but they have a very, 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 very wide array of food items that they like to go after. So you'll find leopards will hunt anything from small insects like termites all the way up to large mammals like baby elephants, baby giraffe. So they have a very broad spectrum, but most of what they hunt here in this particular part of the world is small to medium-sized antelope, and what they're feeding on right now is what's called an impala. Now, an impala is a medium-sized antelope for us. us it's similar to a deer in the United States or in other parts of the world. That's about the size of what we see them going after mostly. And so there's the leg of that particular antelope, and this will be all that's left. And you can see this particular male is just trying to get comfortable on the branch itself. He's quite a character, this youngster. He's all over the place. So Sadiqa, a leopard's lifespan, it depends if we're looking at males or females. So males tend to have a slightly shorter lifespan because of the rough nature of their life, where they've got to protect territory, they've got to push other males away, they've got to fight for territories. They tend to live for between 12 and 14 years. That's a rough sort of lifespan for a male, whereas the females will often go up towards 16, 17 years of age, because they're not having to deal with as much and patrol as much territory and try and fight and keep their territories from younger males. They tend to not have as many trials and tribulations, and that allows them to then sometimes grow and live a little bit longer. But it's not always the case. Obviously, there's situations where individuals will disappear, and you'll find males living longer and females living shorter. Annie, you're asking if the father leopard would ever share food with the mother of either of these individuals. Well, not really. So how leopard society works is that a mother is completely independent from the male. So what happens is that a male will mate with a female, she'll produce offspring, and he plays no part in the fathering other than defending the territory and making sure other males don't move in that could potentially kill those cubs. So that's how it kind of works in terms of the dynamic between male and female. When it comes to food, the males are always king. They will chase the females off food. So let's say, hypothetically, these were two females that we saw here. You would probably find the male would come in and assert himself and try and take over the carcass. That's generally what happens. And that's what makes what we're seeing here so unique, is that this dominant male is not actually chasing the two young males off food. I have seen dominant males with younger males before on carcasses, and normally the dominant male is the one that controls the food item, pushes the two youngsters away, and that's why this is just such an odd sighting and just so unique, and something that we'll probably, in all likelihood, not see again in a very, very long time. We're being absolutely spoilt by having a situation like this. Now, in the background, there's also some hyenas that are starting to arrive as well. So they do have natural predators. There you can see a hyena is just running in now. Now, I wonder if this hyena is going to start chasing any one of the leopards. There you go. You see it's starting to come in. So they've heard the crunching of the bones, and now they're coming in to investigate if there is some scraps. Now, Soval, this is one of the predators that leopards have to worry about. Not so much when they're big adults like what we see here. So these young males and this big dominant male don't have to stress about a hyena like this. When they're cubs, hyenas are very, very, very dangerous to leopards, and a number of leopard cubs are killed by hyenas every year. Then the other predators that they'll have is lions. They'll also have a situation where other male leopards will be a problem. So let's say this male leopard produced cubs with a female. If a new male leopard came into the area, he's going to kill those cubs to bring that female back into estrus and try and then assert himself as a dominant individual. But this hyena is slowly but surely walking straight towards the big dominant male leopard. Now, a big dominant male leopard and a young hyena like this are not going to really scrap it out, because that young hyena is going to be nervous. You can see the hyena is now turned. The leopard's just watching him. His head is down. He's focusing and just watching what's going on. And the hyena is now deciding rather to come towards the young individual. And he's probably going to try and rob this young individual. So he'll use bravado, and the hyena will rush in to try and push the youngster away. And being a young leopard, you see he's nervous and he runs and drops the food item, and the hyena can then steal it. And that's why they go up into trees with their food, is to try and protect their food and to try and keep it to themselves. Now, Brianna, you're asking how far are we from observing these leopards? Well, at the moment, the closest leopard to us is probably, I would say, about 20 meters away. It's not very far at all. And the thing is about this area is that because we are around every day and we find these leopards when they're still tiny and they're cubs, they get very used to the vehicles. And so some of these leopards will lie right in the shadow of the vehicle and not worry about us at all. And so we're very fortunate in that we do have relaxed leopards, and it's one of the reasons that this particular area is probably the singular best place to view leopards in the world. It is an incredible part of the world to see a leopard, and it's why this reserve became famous, and it's because these leopards have become so used to our presence that they move around very, very close to us, and we are able to get these intimate views of leopards as they go about their life. And you can see they're not perturbed by us at all, so they're not looking at us, they're not watching what our movements are. They're just in a situation where they are completely acting naturally and doing their own thing, and that's all because we don't try and steal food from them, we don't chase them, we don't hurt them. There's no hunting that takes place in any of these areas, and that means that the leopards have become trusting of these vehicles and know that the vehicles are not something to worry about. They're completely unperturbed by them. Now, you may have noticed some of the other vehicles that are in the area with us, and so there are tourists that are in this particular section of the reserve, and so if you do hear a vehicle coming in and out, it is because of that situation, is that there are tourists that are coming to see these animals as well. Dab, this area is most certainly protected. This is an area that is heavily protected. We have basically armed anti-poaching units that will patrol to make sure that people are not coming in here and hunting illegally. All of the animals that lie inside here, as well as the vegetation and everything else, are completely protected, and so it is a protected area, and we form part of what is called the Greater Kruger National Park. So it is a massive tract of land in the northeastern corner of South Africa that is protected, and we are a different game that is attached to the Kruger National Park, which is the national park, and this is a private land area, but it is open and it forms one big ecosystem that is completely protected, and the animals are free to roam around in a massive area. And so it is an incredible part of the world, and it is amazing to see wilderness like this. Now, what's interesting is I wonder if this male leopard might not go up the tree. If he does, we might see a bit of an altercation between them, because what happens with male leopards is that they are very, very defensive of their food items when it comes to each other. So with a hyena, they know a hyena's got a very powerful bite and that it's dangerous to go after them. But when two leopards fight, it is a very different story. And if this leopard goes up into the tree, the leopard that's up in the tree at the moment is not going to be too happy to have another individual coming into this area. It really is absolutely insane to see this, and I wonder if this young male is going to have the brazen attitude to be able to try and go up and take on the other one up in the tree itself. Looks like he might go up. He's busy sniffing around at the base there. You can see the hyenas still lurking in the background as well. They're still watching and waiting for more scraps to be dropped down. And look at that leopard. Look at those beautiful eyes. And you can see he's sniffing as well. Tez, you're wondering if we found one of these leopards injured, would we go and intervene and help it, or would we let nature take its course? Well, Tez, it depends on what the injury is. So if it's something like man-made, so let's say somebody unfortunately has left a piece of wire around and it's wrapped around a leg or something like that, then yes, we will intervene. We'll come in and we'll try and get rid of it, because that animal would never have encountered that naturally and would never be, and it will never be able to actually deal with it naturally. Whereas if it's a natural injury, so something like, let's say, another leopard attacks one of these individuals and they get hurt from that, then no, we don't interfere. And the reason for that is that nature has a way of basically dealing with and reducing weaker bloodlines, and it's the way nature was. If we weren't here, it still would have happened, and there's a reason for it. And even a animal like a leopard dying is going to cause nutrients to be put back into the bush. There's going to be scavengers that are going to feed off it. There's all kinds of parts of that take place, and so if we start tinkering with that, we're then interfering with the balance of nature, and we have then a big problem. And the thing is also is that a lot of people will become very emotionally attached to things like leopards and lions and various others, but won't be too attached to the antelopes, and so therefore wouldn't want to treat antelopes, but want to treat leopards for the same thing. So if we apply that rule, then it's a general blanketed rule for everyone. Right, that's unfortunately all we've got time for on our Facebook Live. I hope you've all